Ryan Garcia is an up-and-coming boxing prospect who has been able to string together a streak of knockouts in his young career. If you ask anybody who is familiar with Ryan Garcia, they will usually mention his blisteringly fast hands. I'm going to show you how you can increase your own hand speed by using Ryan Garcia as an example. But before I start the video, I just want to say that the techniques I'm going to show are not always ideal in boxing, and they aren't ideal in every situation in boxing. By implementing these quick fixes to attain greater hand speed, you'll be sacrificing something in order to compensate for that increased hand speed. That something is going to be your defensive responsibility, which is something a smart opponent with very good timing can exploit. So before you try any of this in sparring or in a fight, I want you all to understand that you run the risk of getting seriously hurt by doing this. Because this is the sweet science, where tactics and physics are extremely prevalent, you must know what you're doing in the ring before you do these things. And that's because a skilled opponent can turn the gift of hand speed into a curse. So first of all, let's take a look at Ryan Garcia's stance, and right away we get most of the answers as to why he's able to have such fast hands. So we're going to start from the top and work our way down. I've drawn a red line going down Ryan Garcia's body to signify that he's standing very upright. And this is because you notice when you stand up straight yourself, you notice that you're most relaxed when you're standing up straight and not hunched over into a fighting stance. So the second if you try to get into a standard boxing stance or the true boxer stance, you notice that you're expending a little bit of energy just by holding the stance. It's also common knowledge that muscles fire the fastest when the muscle is relaxed. So this is why he's standing upright. You also notice that his chin is not tucked. Once again, this goes into being as relaxed as possible so he can focus purely on attaining the maximum hand speed. Now we look at his shoulders. We notice that his shoulders are not flexed upwards and they're not protecting his chin. This is going to increase his hand speed. Now we look at his lead hand. You notice that it's being held low. It's being held at chest level. Now there's nothing inherently or fundamentally wrong with holding your lead hand low. You just need to know at what point do you bring it back up. Since he's holding his hand at his chest, he's able to maintain the most relaxed position as possible so that he could fire his jab or fire really any punch from his lead hand as fast as possible. And then we're going to look down at the bottom. We notice that his knees are bent minimally. So if you take a look at Fernando Vargas, even though he's the shorter fighter, his knees are bent much more than Ryan Garcia's. And this is because Ryan Garcia is trying to stand as relaxed as possible because focus is purely on his hand speed. Let's watch Ryan Garcia throw this quick left hook / jab. Notice the technique on this left hook. Take a close look at Ryan Garcia's right hand. Notice that he doesn't keep it up, protecting his chin from potential counters from Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas can land a big left hook right on Ryan Garcia because his right hand is being held very low. The purpose of him doing this isn't for the sake of being technically flawed. What Ryan Garcia is doing with his right hand right here, instead of protecting his chin, is using it as a counterbalance in order to make his left hook or his left jab as fast as possible. But not only that, it also allows him, since his hand is being low, he's able to shoot it straight from his chest in case he wants to follow up after this left hook or his jab. So if he wanted to throw a 1-2, he could throw it very quickly because his hand is already at chest level. And of course, if you try this, of course you're running the risk of being countered. But since Ryan Garcia notices that Fernando Vargas is in a very high guard, he's going to take that risk. So the last thing I want to talk about is the knockout sequence. Usually when people see a knockout, they don't realize that a lot of the time it's the result of the events that happened before it. In this fight, Ryan Garcia was able to condition or train Fernando Vargas to walk directly into the left hook that knocked him out. Conditioning in boxing is the act of doing something in order to get your opponent to respond a certain way. And then when you're able to predict them to respond that way, you're able to capitalize on it. And this is how a lot of knockouts happen. So here Ryan Garcia connects with a jab. Here Ryan Garcia feints a jab and notices that Fernando Vargas slips down to his right, ducks down at the waist, and then throws a big overhand right, which misses. This is very important. So right now, Ryan Garcia has taken note of the fact that when he throws the jab, or feints the jab, Fernando Vargas is going to respond by ducking down to his right. So once again, Ryan Garcia is going to throw the jab and he sees Vargas duck down to his right. And the reason Vargas is ducking down to his right just to avoid the jab is once again because Ryan Garcia's hands are so fast that he has to anticipate it. So he ducks down and overcompensates by slipping down to the right, bending down at the waist. There we see Ryan Garcia throw a left hook, which Fernando Vargas is able to dodge by bending down at the waist and slipping over to his right. So now Ryan Garcia has effectively conditioned Fernando Vargas to feel safe about slipping over to his right in order to dodge both his jab and his left hook. So how is Ryan Garcia going to take advantage of this? Ryan Garcia is now going to throw a 1-2, which Fernando Vargas attempts to duck down, but he doesn't do it in time. Now watch this. Since Fernando Vargas has ducked down at the waist and bent over to his right 3 times in a row now, Ryan Garcia is going to take advantage of this by throwing this 1-2, and as soon as Fernando Vargas is down at the waist, Ryan Garcia is going to meet him with this mean left hook, which drops him and puts him down for the count. Ryan Garcia conditioned him with no shampoo. As always, thank you everybody for watching. If you learned something, please click the red button and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next video.
Relevant, real deal, Holyfield. And now you hookers and hoes know how I feel. Well, if it's good enough to give up a proper chunk, I take a small piece of some of that funky stuff. It's like this and like that and like this, and it's like that and like this and like that, and it's like this and like that and like this.